Well, you thought you did everything right. You researched, checked reviews, you even got recommendations from other food allergy families. But when you finally arrive at the restaurant, something feels off. The staff looks unsure, their answers are vague, and suddenly you're questioning if this place is actually allergy safe. And the worst part? You don't have a backup plan. Now you're standing there with hungry, tired kids, scrambling for what to do next. Dining out with food allergies is never simple, but throw in the unpredictability of travel and it gets even trickier. In today's episode, we're talking about 3 big mistakes food allergy families make when eating out on vacation, and more importantly, what to do instead. I'm going to share the lessons I've learned the hard way so you don't have to. If you're dining out with food allergies at home or on vacation, this episode will make it easier, safer, and way less stressful. Let's get to it. Hey food allergy mama, if you're here, you've likely experienced the scary and lonely food allergy diagnosis with your child. Unfortunately, food allergy parents aren't taught how to navigate the food allergy lifestyle, and it's easy to feel alone and discouraged sometimes. But I'm here to show you that food allergy life doesn't have to feel restrictive, scary, or isolated. I'm Karina, and I'm a 17-year food allergy mom and food allergy coach at Friendly Pantry Consulting. I specialize in making food allergy life safer and less worrisome for food allergy families like yours. I'm not perfect, but over 17 years, I've learned a lot the hard way, and I'm sharing the secrets and resources you won't hear anywhere else that will help you feel confident living with food allergies faster and easier than I did. From introducing allergens, travel, navigating school, and educating friends and family, this podcast will give you the essential tips and strategies you need to help your food allergy child and family thrive. Welcome to the show. Have you signed up to get our food allergy travel secrets that we've learned after many years traveling the world with food allergies? Sign up and get our family food allergy travel secrets by going to www.friendlypantry.com/travel secrets. We were all starving, and I was so glad we had done our research. I had looked up recommendations from other food allergy families and safe options before we left. But now, after walking in the heat with 2 tired kids, we were struggling to find the restaurant. Even though we left early, it took way longer than expected to get there. At the time, we were in Ottawa, Canada during our summer vacation, and it was many years ago now. We combed the streets through Byward Market. Finally, we arrived. Sweaty, exhausted, and ready to eat, we walked up to the host stand and said, "Are you able to accommodate food allergies?" The hostess just stared at us. She looked completely unsure about how to answer, and after an awkward pause, she mumbled, "Hang on a minute," and disappeared to get someone else. Okay, maybe she was new. Maybe she just wanted to make sure she gave us the right answer. That's what I told myself. But when the more experienced hostess arrived, my confidence sank. She didn't seem any more sure of herself. In fact, she hesitated before saying, "I'm not really sure if we can manage food allergies." It's not what we expected and not what we wanted to hear. We didn't have a backup restaurant in the area, even though there were restaurants everywhere. We were all hot, tired, and past the point of patience. So I pressed a little. "Is there a chef I can speak with?" The answer was a quiet, "I'm not sure if they're available." That was all we needed to hear. This restaurant was not the right choice for us. Walking away was frustrating. We thought we had done the research. We thought we had a solid plan, but now we were out of options, and all we had left were a few sad snacks in our backpack, which were not nearly enough for our 4 hungry people. Yes, we eventually found somewhere to eat, but not before some hungry disagreements between my husband and I, and some serious grumpiness from the kids. This is not how you want your vacation to go. But as food allergy families, we don't have the luxury of just picking any restaurant and hoping for the best. Safety always comes first, and when we see red flags, we have to listen to them. So what could we have done differently? Let's talk about 3 common mistakes people make when dining out while traveling and what to do instead. Let's make sure that your next trip is easier and less stressful than ours. The first mistake is relying solely on online recommendation and menus. The problem with this is that recommendations may not be up to date or tell the full story. A restaurant that was safe last year may have changed suppliers, they may have changed staff or policies. Plus, a good experience for one allergy doesn't mean it's safe for another. So instead, use those recommendations as a starting point, but always contact the manager or the chef as well. Policies can change, and it's important to get current confirmation from someone who knows. You also want to gauge their understanding and commitment to food safety. So remember that if you ask a simple yes or no question like, can you accommodate food allergies, restaurants might say yes without fully understanding your needs. For example, they might mean that they have gluten-free options, but of course we all know that gluten is not the same as dairy or nuts. If I could tell you how many times people have confused gluten with our nut allergy, it's kind of crazy. That's why the question that I asked, can you accommodate food allergies, wasn't really the best question. Instead, I now like to start with an open-ended question that isn't just yes or no answer, and then move to more specific questions. For example, start with a general question like, how do you accommodate blank allergies? If the staff member doesn't know how to answer, they will have to get a chef or someone else that does. Then, once they answer, if it sounds good to you, you can move to more specific questions. For example, you can ask things like, how do you prevent cross-contact? Or, can you prepare my food with clean gloves and separate utensils? Do you have a dedicated fryer and prep space? This forces them to think through their procedures rather than just giving a blanket response. Remember that a restaurant's willingness or unwillingness to answer these questions is just as important as the answers themselves. Okay, mistake number 2 is not having a backup. Now, I felt confident because I thought I'd researched the restaurants because I got recommendations, I read the website, so I didn't plan for what would happen if it didn't work out. But when we arrived, as you heard, we realized the staff wasn't knowledgeable and something just felt off. Now we were stuck scrambling for a last-minute alternative with hungry, frustrated kids. What I've learned is to always have a plan B and maybe even a plan C if possible. You want to save names, addresses, and phone numbers of at least 2 backup restaurants nearby, especially if you're walking like we were. If possible, pack extra safe snacks so you're not making those decisions while everyone is starving. And if things don't feel right at your first choice, you're already going to have another option ready to go. But here's a situation that could happen that you might not think of as well. What if you can't find a backup option near that original restaurant? So in this case, I have been known to try and visit the original restaurant between meals or before we want to go there to ask them the questions in person before our meal. That way, when we arrive at mealtime, we can be confident. Okay, mistake number 3 is a doozy and maybe even a little bit controversial, but hear me out here. I think that expecting restaurants to guarantee there won't be traces of our allergen in the meal is a mistake. This is something I believed earlier on in our journey, and I see this in Facebook groups now all the time, which is why I really wanted to address it. Don't get me wrong, I think as food allergy families, we want to hear a guarantee, and I wish we could get that guarantee. Because we want to know that the restaurant takes as many precautions as possible, because safety is always most important. We want them to hear them say that they can guarantee the food will be safe. But the thing is that people make mistakes. I know I've made mistakes reading labels, and I've made other mistakes too. In fact, I talk about my mistakes all the time on this podcast because I'm far from perfect. If you want to hear a few episodes where I talk about my mistakes, go to episode number 2 and episode number 56. But there's definitely more scattered throughout all these podcasts. Anyway, because nobody is perfect, it's really hard for a restaurant to guarantee that there won't be traces of allergens in the food. But that doesn't mean that the restaurant isn't a good choice. It might mean that they're just being honest, and that's a good thing. And so I think that asking for a guarantee is actually the wrong question to ask. Instead, I think it's important to understand the procedures the restaurant has in place. If they have good food allergy policies and procedures and training, then they're likely doing their best to avoid making unsafe meals. If instead they have no procedures in place and they don't do their due diligence, then that isn't a place I would want to go, whether they can guarantee a safe meal or not. So the important part is not to ask for a guarantee, but what do they do to make things safe? Of course, it feels bad when a restaurant says they can't serve us because of allergies. It's even heartbreaking sometimes. I actually told a story of a time when we had to leave a restaurant we regularly went to because they suddenly stopped serving people with allergies. You can listen to that in episode 12, and if you haven't yet, definitely go back and listen to it. But when all is said and done, the important thing is safety, and I would rather a restaurant let us know in a kind way if they can't accommodate, even if it's hard. So I'm wondering, does this all make sense or is it overwhelming? I want you to know that if you feel like it's overwhelming, I can definitely help with this. This task of planning a trip and dining out while on vacation doesn't have to be so hard. I can take the stress and the guesswork out of planning because I understand what's important when traveling with food allergies. I have many years of experience and we've been all over the world. I can help you source, book, and plan all of your allergy-friendly accommodations, restaurants, and trip details so you don't have to stress or do it alone. And the best part is that there's no extra planning fee right now if you decide to book with me. So go to friendlypantry.com/travel advisor or email me at karina.meckelborg@fora.travel. Thanks for listening and bye for now. Before you go, Mama, if you love this episode and want deeper support, head over to friendlypantry.com to see how we can partner together to keep your food allergy child safer and worry less. There's no need for wasting time searching all over Instagram, TikTok, and the web to get the practical knowledge you need for your family. While you're there, grab your free Food Allergy Kids Empowerment Guide or the newly diagnosed checklist today. Topics are not medical advice and are the opinions, views, and property of Friendly Pantry Consulting Incorporated. All rights reserved. Always contact your board-certified allergist, immunologist for health advice.